Okay, so this is going to be a bit of an interesting one today. I had a very curious question posed to me. They asked, how did I unlock this white skull? Now, this white skull, I have never paid it any attention whatsoever. It's been there, it's in all of my worlds, but apparently you unlock it in Dimension 2. At least that's the speculation. So the person asked, how do I unlock it? And they noticed that in my Dimension 1, in all of my videos, I don't have it. But then once I get here in Dimension 2, I do have it. But it gets a bit crazier. See, there are more. There's more items that you can unlock for the shelf here. There is a robot that I've seen, and it appears as though there's a space for one more. But before we tackle the robot, the skull. How do we unlock the skull? I honestly don't know. The curious thing is, so it's here on my main save as well, but I have my 26-minute Dimension 1 Beating the Dark Lord ready to go to Dimension 2 file. And what would you know? Well, it knows that I need to speak to the wizard first. Anyway, that's just proving my point. I can go to Dimension 2 if I desire. But look at that. White skull. So somehow, in these 26 minutes that I've accomplished this run, this completion of Dimension 1, I've done something to unlock that white skull. I don't know what it is. We can go ahead and erase the file, start a new one, and it won't be there. And yeah, I'm dumbfounded. What is it? What is this little unlockable cosmetic item in the background? Okay, so fresh save, no skull. So it is something you unlock, and it's not something that you unlock within your account, if you will. It is something you unlock in the save to get the white skull. Now, that does make it fairly easy for me, because I can look through my 26-minute run and figure out when exactly I get the skull. But we also have the robot, and the question that was posed or theorized between me and another fellow So Dungeon player, Sub-Zero, was that it's from getting 1,000,000 in both the castle and Primal Land. So, well, I'm close to 1,000,000 in the castle, I might as well get it done and see if that is the case to unlock the robot. Right, so we're past 1,000,000. Question is this what you need to unlock the robot? 1,000,000 in both? No. Well, means there's more testing to be done. Another thing that was queried was whether or not it's for playing on Android. That makes sense, of being a robot and all. But the videos I saw with people who had the robot, I don't think they played on phone. It looked like they were using a mouse. And on that note, there is a third one. So, skull, robot, and a red telephone. How interesting is that? As for the skull, though, because that is the quandary, the only thing that I can really connect it to is Beating the Dark Lord. Because again, on my 26 minutes, I scoured the video, although it's gone because we replaced it, and I didn't have it until the very last run. And in that run, I didn't unlock any achievements, I didn't get any special items. All I did was beat the Dark Lord. Ooh, I'm gonna have to do some more digging. Very, very interested in unlocking them. I think it's just a 3, because given the spacing, you know, well, we don't have a complete photo, but given the 3 objects, it looks like only 3 would fit. Okay, so then lastly, why don't we go over what we do know? So like I said, here's my 26-minute Dimension 1. As you can see, 23 minutes in, no skull. We do the last run from 90 to 100. We beat the Dark Lord. Nothing special happens. We don't get any single achievements. Item-wise, we don't even get anything. All we get is a demonic horn, I believe. Right, a few more seconds. Yeah, cool. Yeah, there we go. All we got is a demonic fragment. So my first connection was there are a few items in the game that aren't utilized. So for instance, the skull item, that would make sense. You find a skull and you get to put it behind the tavern. But if I'd found it beforehand, well, it would already be there. As you can see, no skull. Then of course, like we saw earlier in this video, in this save file, I do have the skull. I have the skull without actually going to Dimension 2. Okay, so first off, the skull. It has to be something in Dimension 1. But then we have, well, the robot and the skull in uniform. Okay, so it is possible to not only unlock these specific items, but you can get multiples. So I really do think it's a full set. And for the robot, well, this is in the Warrior dimension. This person has both. Again, this is Sub-Zero, and he's got the robot and the skull, but we still don't understand when or how. So one of the other videos I saw with the robot, this one, is Dimension 6. So I think it's in Russian, but it is obviously 6. And they have the robot. So this means that the robot is unlockable sometime between Dimension 1 or Dimension 2 and 6. And then lastly, we have that third item, the telephone, which again, if you look at the dimension, is 6. Now this is a far earlier version of the game. See, no recruiter, but it is curious because I would assume all 3 are still unlockable. Okay, so how do we get robots? Where's the double? There we are. Okay, so we need this telephone to finish this slot. So it definitely makes sense that you can get all 3 to fill up this backspace. But how? And this is going to be really hard. So what I honestly need is some information. If you have any one of these items, okay, you need to let me know which item and what dimension. Because the earlier we can figure out what dimension you can unlock these cosmetics in the background, the easier it will be to test and actually figure out what does it. So the skull, I can start off. The skull is definitely something in Dimension 1, so it makes it fairly easy for me to try. In fact, we know it is something to do with the boss, because on my any percent run here, this is the only point at which I get it in the run. Okay, I don't get it from anything earlier on, because it's not in the tavern. The only point at which I have it is right before we can go to Dimension 2. So it has to be something within this last 10 floors. You know, I don't know if it's certain requirements to beat the Dark Lord. I'm pretty sure I end up wiping someone. So it can't be, you know, do like a perfect clear or something like that. Right, does anyone disappear? Yeah, so we did lose one party member. Could be beat the boss in a certain amount of time, maybe, because that is something I do fairly consistently. But I would assume everyone in Dimension 1 really hammers in the Dark Lord, because he's really not that difficult. But as you can see in some of the other photos I've brought up, like the red telephone, no skull. The robot alone, if I can find it again. Last one, there we go. Robot alone, no skull. So something that these 2 players have done, they've unlocked the robot by Dimension 6, but they don't have the white skull. So I'm going to get to work trying to figure out the white skull, and I would love any bit of information that anyone can provide regarding these 3 objects. Do you have one of them? Do you have multiples? Are you fortunate to have all 3? And, you know, if you can place it and remember, when did you get them? It's going to be fun. This is actually really exciting because I can't find anything online. Heck, if you know exactly what they are, cut to the chase. If you know exactly how to unlock them, spread the information, because there is just nothing that I can find online about these objects. Oh, just when I thought I was done with So Dungeon, finds a way to pull me back in. This is going to be fun to figure out. Hope you enjoyed.